Hi everyone, we are going to continue reading Peter Pan. We are in the middle of our chapter, so let's get started. Still, Wendy had bigger concerns than whether Tink's house was better. The boys kept her so busy cooking and cleaning and sewing. The weeks would sometimes go by before she felt the cave saw daylight. It makes one long for the old single life, she thought wistfully in a real grown-up might. As for her parents, she missed them and worried about them, but there was something about Neverland that made time and those worries blur. Somehow she was confident that the bedroom window and her parents' arms would always remain open for her to fly back into. What did disturb Wendy, however, was the fact that John was starting to forget their parents, and Michael had already forgotten them entirely. He actually thought she was his real mother. To fix this, Wendy set up a little school with their old life as the subject instead of spelling or math. The other boys wanted to go to school too, so she let them sit in. Of course, they always failed the quizzes, especially the ones with hard questions like, what color are Mother's eyes? How did we spend last Christmas? And describe Father's laugh. Peter never came to school or took a quiz. He said it was because he despised mothers and holidays and even sometimes laughs, but really it was that he couldn't read or write. While the other boys were in school, Peter would go off alone. Whether he went on real or imaginary adventures, Wendy could never tell unless she or one of the other boys had also gone, and with Peter sometimes not even then. But Wendy had many adventures of her own. Which such tale would you like to hear now? The night attack by the Indians on the underground cave, when a few of them got stuck in the hollow trees like fat Santas in chimneys? Or perhaps the time Peter saved Tiger Lily's life in the Mermaid Lagoon and so made her a lifelong friend? Maybe I should tell you instead about the cake the pirates baked and kept leaving around to make the boys sick, but which Wendy kept finding and snatching from the hands of her children until it got stale and they didn't want it anymore. And Hook eventually tripped over the hard, stale lump in the dark, stubbing his toe. I could tell you about the birds that were Peter's friends, especially the Never bird who lived in a tree above the lagoon, and how her nest fell into the water once, but she kept sitting on it anyway to protect her eggs, and Peter gave orders that no one was to disturb her. A shorter lagoon adventure, and almost as exciting, was Tinker Bell's attempt, with the help of some other fairies, to float a sleeping Wendy back to the mainland on a leaf until Wendy woke up and swam back to Neverland, foiling Tink again. Perhaps the best way to choose is simply to toss a coin, and so the lagoon has won. If you are lucky when you close your eyes at night, you will sometimes see a lovely lagoon where the mermaids live and sing their beautiful songs. When you are awake, the nearest you can get to this lagoon is the beach at sunset in the surf. The children spent long summer days at the lagoon, swimming or lazily floating. Much to Wendy's disappointment, the mermaids turned out to be as unfriendly as Tinker Bell. When they weren't splashing her with their tails, they ignored her entirely. The mermaids didn't like the boys either, except, of course, Peter. Peter spent hours talking to the mermaids or sitting on their tails when they got particularly cheeky. The lagoon was most beautiful at night when the moon came up and the mermaids began to sing their strange, wailing songs to lure sailors onto the rocks. But it was not a safe place for humans then. Wendy knew this and made sure that she always gathered her children and left before dark. On this day, however, as they were all dozing on Marooner's Rock after lunch, something strange and frightening happened. It wasn't night yet, at least Wendy didn't think it was, but the lagoon seemed to shift around them. Little shivers ran over the water, and shadows replaced the sun. It was not night that had come. It was something worse. Okay, friends, that is the end of chapter 8. We're going to start reading chapter 9. And chapter 9 is called The Mermaid Lagoon. Wendy probably should have woken the children at once, but she was a young mother, and it had not yet been half an hour since they had eaten. Even when she heard the sound of muffled oars, she did not wake them, although she was so scared that her heart seemed to leap out of her throat. Instead, she stood guard over them while they digested. Peter, however, who was snoozing on the rock as well, could smell danger, even in his sleep. At the sound of the oars, he jumped to his feet as alert as a dog, and quickly he woke the boys. "Pirates!" he whispered. Just that one awful word. You guys say it. Pirates. Good job. The others huddled close around him. "Dive!" he cried. "Now!" There was a flash of legs, and all of the boys were in the water. They hid as best they could while the pirate dinghy pulled up to the rock they had just been sitting on. In the boat were Smee and Starkey and their captive, the Indian princess, Tiger Lily. The pirates had caught her trying to sneak aboard their ship with a knife and had tied her hands and ankles. And here's a little picture. They were going to leave Tiger Lily on the rock to drown when the tide came up and covered it. She did not beg. A true princess, she sat up straight and she stared proudly ahead. In her dark, watery hiding spot, Wendy cried. She had never witnessed such cruelty or bravery. Peter had seen plenty of both and was not particularly moved. What he did hate, however, was unfairness, and this was 2 against 1. It would have been easy for him to wait until the pirates were gone to rescue Tiger Lily, but Peter chose the easy way out. "Ahoy there, you rascals!" he cried out in his best imitation of Captain Hook's voice. "Captain?" the 2 pirates called back, squinting into the darkness. "He must be swimming out to us," Starkey said. "We are putting Tiger Lily onto the rocks," Smee called. "Set her free immediately," was the surprising answer, "or I'll plunge my hook into you both." The command made no sense to the pirates, but they were afraid to disobey their captain. So they cut Tiger Lily's cords, and with one last look, she slid into the water like a graceful eel. "Boat ahoy!" Hook yelled suddenly, only this time it was the real Hook, who was apparently also in the water and swimming toward the boat. Wendy and Peter watched from the dark water as Hook used his metal claw to grip the side of the boat, and he pulled himself aboard. From the light of the pirate's lantern, Wendy could see his roughly handsome face. She wanted desperately to swim away, but Peter signaled for her to stay put. Once on board, Hook sat with his head in his hands, groaning in extreme frustration. "Captain, what's wrong?" Smee asked. "It's over," Hook said, sighing. "The lost boys have found a mother." Wendy puffed up with pride, floating now a little higher. "Oh, evil day," Starkey said. "What's a mother?" asked Smee. And just then the nest belonging to the Never bird floated by, with the mother bird still sitting on it. "That is a mother, a good example of one at that," Hook told Smee. "Her nest fell into the water, but has she deserted her eggs? No." There was a break in Hook's voice, as if, for one moment, he was recalling his childhood of his own mother. But he brushed away his weakness and what might have been a small tear from his cheek with his hook. "Captain, I propose we kidnap the boys' mother and make her our own," Smee suggested. "Yes," said Hook, "we will capture the boys and make them walk the plank. Then we will keep their mother." Smee and Starkey cheered. "Yeah." "Wait," Hook said suddenly, remembering Tiger Lily. "Where's the princess?" "We let her go," Smee replied. "Why?" demanded Hook. "Why, you told us to," Smee stammered. "I heard you too, Captain," Starkey said. "What kind of trickery is going on here?" thundered Hook. "I gave no such order." He looked around and he shivered. "Dark spirit that haunts the lagoon at night," he called out, "do you hear me?" Okay, friends, that is where we're going to end today. I hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.